You are the signal. Introduction. You were taught to bow your head and plead, to speak words into the air and hope they would be heard. You were taught that prayer was a request, an attempt to move a distant God to act on your behalf. But no one told you the real secret. No one told you that you are not speaking into silence. You are vibrating into intelligence, an infinite field that does not listen with ears. It listens with resonance. Prayer was never meant to be a form of begging. It was never meant to arise from fear, guilt, or unworthiness. It was never meant to be a negotiation with the divine, as if heaven needed to be persuaded to love you. You were never meant to ask. You were meant to align. Because here's the truth. Heaven does not respond to desperation. It responds to coherence. It doesn't rush in when your words are loudest. It moves when your being becomes a clear, open channel. When your breath slows. When your heart softens. When your inner frequency finally matches the truth of what you're asking for. Every unanswered prayer you've ever cried into the dark was not ignored. It was misaligned. You weren't denied. You were vibrating something else. The divine didn't fail you. It mirrored you. This is the radical truth that shatters centuries of misunderstanding. Your life is not shaped by what you ask for. It is shaped by what you are, and what you consistently broadcast into the living field around you. This field, this presence, is not separate from you. It is not something above you. It is not something you must impress. It is something you must match. Because in the same way a radio plays only the station it's tuned to, your world plays the song of your current vibration, not your potential, not your intention, but your current state of being. So the purpose of prayer, it is not to call God closer. It is to draw your spirit back into alignment with the divine signal that never stopped transmitting. When you do that, when your inner state finally reflects divine harmony, you don't even need to speak. Heaven responds before your lips move, because your vibration has already delivered the message. This audiobook is not about teaching you how to ask better. It's about helping you remember that you were never meant to ask in the first place. You were meant to embody, to align, to become the frequency that heaven cannot ignore. And now that you know the truth, are you ready to stop asking and start resonating? Chapter 1. You are already being heard. You think your prayers go unanswered, but they are not unanswered. They are always answered, just not in words, not in form, not in the timeline your mind demands. They are answered in reflection, because prayer is not a message you send. It is a frequency you emit, and the universe listens with perfect fidelity. You are always praying. Every thought is a request. Every emotion is a vibration. Every belief is a broadcast into the sacred field that surrounds and fills all things. You are always being heard, not by a distant God, but by the divine intelligence that breathes you. You are inside the thing you're trying to talk to, and it does not wait for your words. It responds to your state. This is the first rupture in the illusion. You were taught that prayer is a sacred moment, a ritualized pause in the chaos of your day. But the truth is more wild, more uncomfortable, and more liberating than that. You have never not been praying. When you worry, you are praying to the God of fear. When you obsess, you are praying to the God of control. When you complain, you are praying to the God of lack. And when you love, you are praying to the God who remembers you. So the question isn't, is God listening to me? The question is, what am I saying without realizing it? You cry out for abundance while vibrating in lack. You beg for healing while identifying with your pain. You plead for love while radiating abandonment. You think you are being ignored. But the divine has only one law. It mirrors you, not what you say. What are you? Not what you want. What you embody. And this is not punishment. This is precision. There is no cruelty in this design, only integrity. The field cannot be fooled. Your words may deceive others, even yourself. But the vibration you emit, that deep silent signal beneath the mask, that is what creation hears. You were taught to perform your prayers, to dress them up in the language of worthiness, to lace them with humility or urgency, to use the right words in the right order with the right emotion. But the field doesn't speak English. It speaks resonantly. And resonance is not manufactured. It is what remains when you strip everything else away. That's why some of your most powerful prayers were wordless. The breath you took before you fell apart, the stillness after surrender, the silence when there were no more words, just your trembling being, wide open to the mystery. That was a perfect prayer, because in that moment you stopped performing, you stopped pleading, and for one breath you aligned. Now imagine this. What if you could live in that alignment every day? What if your prayer wasn't something you did, but something you became? That's what this journey is for. Not to teach you how to say the right words, but to teach you how to become the right frequency. The frequency that no longer needs to be asked, because it has become the answer. You've spent your life believing you were being tested, judged, watched from above by a presence waiting for you to prove yourself. But that's not what's happening. You are not on trial. You are in a feedback loop. And the divine, the field, the infinite, it is not judging you. It is responding to you. With absolute precision, with mathematical honesty, with a sacred loyalty to the truth of your vibration. You are not punished for your state. You are surrounded by it. What you call life is just your energy, amplified. So now you know. You are always praying. With every sigh, with every worry, with every breath you take while thinking a thought. The question is, do you want to keep praying for the life you no longer want? Because if you do nothing, if you stay unconscious, you will keep receiving exactly what you are. But if you awaken, if you stop asking for permission, if you begin to align from the inside out, you won't need to beg for change. You will become the vibration that bends reality, the prayer that shifts timelines, the signal that heaven cannot help but answer. So let us begin this transformation, not by asking harder, but by asking less, and aligning deeper. But if the universe is always listening, what exactly are you broadcasting? Chapter 2. The Mechanics of the Sacred Signal. You live in a vibrational universe, not metaphorically, not spiritually, literally. Everything is frequency. Everything, your thoughts, your breath, your body, your emotions, is moving energy, vibrating, oscillating, emitting, receiving. You are not a person trying to connect with God. You are a signal already inside God's signal, either harmonizing or clashing. This is not mysticism. This is physics. And this is why your prayer life has felt confusing, because you were using a method from one dimension to reach a reality built in another. You thought prayer was about words, but words are slow. The divine speaks in vibration, not vocabulary. Imagine a radio. You don't scream at the radio to play your song. You don't beg it. You don't prove your worth to it. You don't fast, cry, or bribe the airwaves. You tune. You turn the dial until the static fades and the music appears. And the moment you find the frequency, the song plays as if it had been waiting there the whole time. It had. It always was. You just weren't aligned with it. That's how divine response works. The miracle is not created when you pray. The miracle is revealed when you align. Your dream isn't far. It's simply vibrating at a different frequency. And the longer you stay out of sync with it, the longer it seems distant, unreachable, delayed. But the moment you match its energy, it manifests. You've felt this. You've thought of someone, and they called. You've let go of something, and it suddenly appeared. You've stopped begging, and the door opened. Why? Because alignment is more powerful than effort, and vibration is faster than thought. But most people have no idea what they're tuned to, because they live unconsciously, reacting instead of resonating. Trapped in inherited beliefs, recycled emotions, and vibrational patterns they never chose but continue to live inside. Imagine being born into a home where the only song playing is fear. Your body adapts to that rhythm. Your nervous system syncs to that station, and you call it normal. Then you pray, not from peace but from panic, not from joy but from scarcity, not from trust, but from trauma. And still you wonder, why hasn't anything changed? But you cannot pray for healing while tuned to illness. You cannot call in abundance while vibrating in lack. You cannot attract love while radiating fear. Because the divine, the field, is law. It is music. It is math. It is precise. It mirrors back what you are, not what you wish. This is why life changes the moment you stop chasing and start tuning. Because nothing is as fast as frequency. And nothing is as honest. Let's go deeper. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field measurable several feet beyond your body. Your emotions create energetic signatures that affect your brain chemistry, your hormones, your immunity, your reality. When you feel gratitude, do not perform it, but feel it. You shift your internal chemistry. When you feel peace, you become a transmitter of coherence. And when you feel love, not for someone, but as a state of being, you become the vibration that creation recognizes as divine. That's when answers come. That's when healing ignites. That's when reality rearranges itself around your coherence. This is why the mystics sat in silence, why the saints wept in stillness, why prophets walked into caves, deserts, and mountaintops, not to escape the world, but to stop their own noise long enough to tune in. They weren't seeking favor. They were becoming frequent, and in becoming that frequency, they stopped needing to ask. Because when your vibration aligns with divine law, life organizes itself around you with effortless precision. The need to chase disappears. The fear of lack dissolves. The silence becomes your sanctuary, because you finally understand that you are the song. You don't have to summon God. You are vibrating within God. The question is, are you coherent or chaotic? Are you in tune or lost in static? Your next breakthrough is not blocked by a gatekeeper. It is blocked by dissonance and the gap between what you ask for and who you are. And this gap is not a punishment. It's a portal, a sacred reminder that you don't climb into higher realities with force. You tune into them. So here's the shift. Stop thinking about what you want and start feeling what it would be like to already have it. Not just once, not just on Sundays. Make it your baseline frequency. Let your nervous system learn peace. Let your breath become trust. Let your presence be so consistent, so clean, so coherent, that heaven no longer needs to decode your message, because now you are the message. This is why alignment matters more than effort. This is why feeling is the prayer. This is why silence is often more powerful than words. And this is why prayer was never meant to ask, because asking assumes distance. But vibration knows only unity. You do not ask the sun to shine. You step into its light. You do not ask music to play. You tune to the station, and you do not beg the divine to arrive. You become still and feel that it never left. But if your alignment is the access point, what's keeping you misaligned? Chapter 3. You can't ask for one thing and vibrate another. You say you want abundance, but what do you vibrate when the bill arrives? You say you want love, but what do you feel when you're alone? You say you're ready for peace, but how do you breathe when life doesn't go your way? This is the quiet war inside you, the contradiction between what your mouth speaks and what your energy screams. The duality between the version of you that hopes and the version of you that hides. This is why your prayers feel powerless. Why do your rituals feel dry? Why do you light candles but still feel in the dark? Because you are asking with your lips while vibrating against your own desire with your being. The field does not respond to what you want. It responds to what you are, not your statements, your state, not your petitions, your permission. You want miracles, but you're rehearsing trauma. You want prosperity, but you're attached to scarcity. You want to be seen, but you're terrified of exposure. And still you ask, why won't God answer me? But what if I told you? He already is. What if the silence you interpret as denial is actually a sacred delay, holding space for the version of you that will no longer betray what you've prayed for? Because the truth is, the divine cannot deliver a frequency you're at war with, not because it's cruel, but because it cannot override you. Creation protects integrity, and as long as you're double-minded, as long as you declare one thing while feeling another, you emit a fractured signal that cannot complete the circuit. So your life becomes a loop. Desire, disappointment, desire, disappointment. And the loop deepens, not because God is ignoring you, but because you are ignoring yourself. You are not in conflict with the divine, you are in conflict with your own energy. You're trying to vibrate love while still rooted in resentment. You're trying to hold abundance while secretly believing it's not for you. You're trying to trust while still clenching. This is the inner contradiction that sabotages every answered prayer. Not from the outside, from within. You think you're waiting on God, but God is waiting on you to stop dividing your signal, to stop pretending to believe, to stop performing worthiness, because every time you say, "I believe," but your nervous system trembles in fear, the field receives that as your truth. Not your affirmations, your atmosphere, not your declarations, your default. And no, this is not meant to shame you, this is meant to free you. Because if you're the one broadcasting the contradiction, then you are also the one who can shift it. You are the gate and you are the key. You just have to decide, which self will you pray to? The one who lacks or the one who already holds? The one who doubts or the one who remembers? This isn't about pretending, this is about choosing. Choosing to embody the end before it begins, to feel what you say you want before it arrives, to stop praying for the thing and start praying from the thing. You don't pray for healing, you pray as healed. You don't beg for abundance. You become its frequency. You don't whisper for peace. You radiate it until the world adjusts. But that takes honesty, not performance, not forced optimism. You must be willing to ask yourself, am I aligned with what I say I desire? Or am I attached to the identity that contradicts it? Because prayer is not magic, it is magnetic. You do not manifest what you beg for, you manifest what you believe. And belief is not a sentence, it's a signal. So what are you signaling when no one is watching? When are you quiet? When your guard is down? That's the real prayer. That's the message the universe is answering. And here's the most sacred truth of all. The field does not punish you for your misalignment. It simply waits. It waits for the signal to clean up, for the contradictions to fall away, for your energy to stop apologizing and start harmonizing. And the moment that happens, you'll stop waiting for a miracle, because you'll become one, no longer asking for change, but becoming the change that moves everything around you. So the question isn't, what do you want to ask for? The real question is, what version of you are you praying from? Because until that changes, the vibration remains scattered, the message remains unclear, the field remains in stasis. But when you unify, when your thoughts, emotions, breath, posture, and presence all speak the same language, reality moves. Heaven doesn't resist a clear signal. It responds with precision. Because when your spirit resonates, heaven doesn't wait for your words, it moves before you speak. But if alignment is the key to unlocking prayer, how do you begin to align when everything inside you feels like static? Chapter 4. Alignment begins in the body, not the mind. You've been trying to change your life with your thoughts alone, repeating affirmations, declaring your intentions, whispering desires into the dark. But nothing changes. And so you wonder, am I doing it wrong? Do I not have enough faith? Do I need to try harder? No. The reason it hasn't worked isn't because you lack faith. It's because you've been ignoring the instrument that carries your frequency, your body. Your body is the temple of vibration. Your nervous system is the antenna. Your breath is the dial. Your emotional state is the pitch. And your entire being, every cell, every heartbeat, every micro-expression, is either broadcasting coherence or chaos. This is where alignment begins, not in the mind that speaks the desire, but in the body that lives it. If your body is tense while you pray for peace, you are not aligned. If your breath is shallow while you speak abundance, you are not aligned. If your gut clenches while you declare love, you are not aligned. Because alignment is not something you say, it's something you become. And the body is always honest. You can fake belief with words. But the body always tells the truth. It holds every fear, every inherited limitation, every buried wound that still vibrates beneath your best intentions. So here is the sacred invitation. Before you speak your next prayer, check your posture, check your breath, check your emotional temperature. Because if you don't feel safe in your body, you won't feel safe receiving the thing you asked for. The frequency of the answer must match the container receiving it, and your body is the container. Do you want abundance? Then your body must feel open, supported, and grounded. Do you want healing? Then your body must feel trust, softness, and rest. Do you want love? Then your body must feel a connection, not just to others, but to itself. This is not performance. This is embodiment. This is the place where prayer becomes cellular, where vibration becomes visceral, and it begins with slowing down. Pause, breathe, drop the words for a moment, and ask yourself honestly, what frequency am I living in? Right now. Not in theory, not in future hopes, but in your chest, in your spine, in your gut. Can you feel it? The knots, the tightness, the holding back. That is what the field is receiving. Not your polished declarations, but the unspoken tension in your flesh. And here's the miracle. The body can be tuned. You don't need years of rituals. You don't need perfect discipline. You need presence. Because when you breathe with intention, you shift. When you move with awareness, you align. When you choose to feel gratitude, not say it, feel it, your entire electromagnetic field begins to change. Your heart rhythm smooths, your brain waves sync, your hormone balance, and suddenly your signal becomes clean. Now your prayer is no longer just an idea, it's a full-body frequency, and the field listens, because now it recognizes you. Now you're not just asking for peace, you are peace. Now you're not seeking healing, you're living in the rhythm of wholeness. Now you're not chasing love, you're radiating the energy that calls it home. This is what it means to become the prayer, to embody the answer, to live inside the vibration of the thing before it arrives. That's the shift. You stop waiting for evidence, and you become the evidence, because when you vibrate as if it's already yours, it has no choice but to meet you. This is not pretending. This is a prophetic embodiment. It is the most sacred form of alignment, the union of mind, body, emotion, breath, and belief, all tuned to the same note, and when that note is pure, the universe cannot resist it. So the next time you pray, don't rush to speak. First, breathe, ground, soften your body, create safety. Allow the frequency to rise through you, not just from you. And then, when you do speak, let your words be the final expression of a truth already vibrating in your bones. That is when your voice becomes powerful. Not because it begs, but because it resonates. That's when the field moves. That's when life bends. That's when the sacred responds before your sentence ends. Because now, you are not praying from separation. You are praying from unity, from embodiment, from truth, and the divine does not deny what it recognizes as itself. But if embodiment is the key, what exactly is your body still holding on to that blocks the signal? Chapter 5. The residue you must release. You've learned to speak what you want. You've begun to feel what you ask for. You've started to breathe with intention, to soften, to slow down. But still, something clings to you. Some invisible resistance, like a thin film of dust on a mirror. You align and then you collapse. You feel the frequency, and then you lose it. You rise, and then you fall back into the same emotion you swore you'd left behind. Why? Because alignment is not just a practice of becoming, it's also a process of releasing. You cannot hold a new vibration while clinging to the residue of the old one. You cannot house divine resonance in a vessel still echoing with shame, guilt, and inherited fear. And you cannot step into coherence while dragging the weight of your unprocessed story. There is no bypass here. You must face the noise, still humming in your field. And not with judgment, with awareness. Because prayer is not just a declaration of desire, it is also a purification of the signal. And your signal is muddy, not because you are broken, but because you are layered. Layers of memories, layers of trauma, layers of beliefs were passed to you before you could speak, layers of not enough, of unworthy, of God is far and I am small. These echoes may be quiet, but they vibrate louder than your affirmations, because the field listens not to your volume, but to your clarity. So what must you release? Let's begin with the oldest. The belief that you must suffer to be worthy, that you must earn favor, that holiness comes through hardship, that God rewards struggle more than alignment. This is the oldest virus in the human soul, and it is the root of misaligned prayer. Because when you believe suffering is the gateway, you unconsciously resist ease, you sabotage the soft path, you mistrust the moment peace arrives. You say you want healing, but when it starts to come, you question it. You feel guilty for receiving it too easily. You brace for something to go wrong. Why? Because your nervous system has been trained to confuse safety with danger and struggle with spiritual virtue. But the divine is not here to prove your worth through pain. It is here to mirror your permission. And if you have not yet given yourself permission to receive, you will unconsciously block what is already yours. So ask yourself, what do I still feel guilty for wanting? What goodness do I mistrust? What softness feels unsafe? These are the frequencies you must bring into the light, because every unexamined emotion becomes a background frequency. Every unhealed memory becomes static in the signal. Every unconscious belief becomes a wall between you and the life calling your name. But awareness melts resistance, compassion clears the air, and breath opens the gate. You do not have to fight these layers. You only have to stop ignoring them. Let them rise, let the sadness shake, let the anger be seen, let the grief breathe, not to stay there, but to free it. Because trapped emotion is trapped energy, and trapped energy distorts the signal. It's not about perfection, it's about coherence, and coherence is what happens when every part of you is finally in the same room, not pretending, not suppressing, not performing, just present. That's when your vibration becomes clean, honest, undeniable, and the field, that intelligent sea you're always inside, responds instantly. You don't have to be high vibe all the time. You don't have to fake bliss. You just have to stop betraying what you truly feel. Because spiritual bypass is not alignment, it's avoidance. And the divine cannot work through what you refuse to acknowledge. So here is your invitation. Make space for your own shadows, not to wallow, but to liberate. Every time you breathe with what hurts, you transmute. Every time you soften into discomfort, you reclaim your power. Every time you welcome your fear like a child needing presence, you raise your frequency, not by force but through love. This is what the mystics knew, that silence is not emptiness, it's a tuning chamber, that prayer is not escape, it's encounter, and that every shadow faced is a frequency reclaimed. Your trauma is not your identity, your pain is not your destiny, but if left unexamined, it becomes your vibration. So you must feel it to free it, not because you are weak, but because you are a tuning fork for the divine. And your instrument must be clear. You are not asking for healing, you are becoming it. You are not begging for change, you are making space for it to enter. You are not waiting on God, you are returning to the vibration where God already lives. And here, in the space between breath and belief, you will realize the secret. The more you let go, the more clearly you are heard. Because what blocks your prayer is not the world, not fate, not some distant deity holding back your blessings. It's the noise inside you that you've refused to meet, but now you will, now you must, because your alignment cannot be built on fragments, it must be whole. And to be whole, you must welcome the parts of you that still believe they are separate. Hold them, feel them, love them into coherence. And then, when your prayer rises again, it will no longer be a cry for rescue. It will be the sound of a being who finally remembers. Heaven is not far. It is tuned to your signal, and when your signal is clear, it responds before you even speak. But if heaven responds to a clear signal, How do you stay aligned when the world keeps pulling you out of tune? Chapter 6. Staying in tune. When the world tries to detune you, you've felt it before. That moment of clarity, that crystalline stillness where everything aligns, where your breath feels sacred, your body feels light, and your heart pulses like it's in perfect rhythm with something infinite. You say the prayer and you know it's already heard. You don't just hope. You feel the answer forming, like a ripple already sent out and returning as a wave. And then, a phone call, a headline, a trigger, a memory, and it's gone. You spiral. You collapse. You wonder, how could I feel so connected one minute and so scattered the next? Here's the truth. The world doesn't want you aligned, not because it is evil, but because it is loud. And your alignment, your stillness, your coherence, your deep resonant presence terrifies systems that feed on fear, division, and distraction. You live in a world addicted to chaos, a culture that profits from your misalignment, and a society that teaches you to measure your worth by noise, not stillness. So if you're waiting for the external world to support your spiritual coherence, you'll be waiting forever. You must become your own tuning fork, because the field doesn't shift because your day is calm. It shifts because you are. The real work isn't just entering alignment, it's staying there, even when life tempts you to forget. And that is where prayer becomes practice. Because when you learn to hold your frequency in the storm, you don't just change your life, you change the atmosphere around you. Think of it like this. A violin can fall out of tune simply by being in the wrong environment, by temperature, by humidity, by pressure. So what does the musician do? She doesn't scream at the instrument. She doesn't throw it away. She tunes it, gently, repeatedly, until the right note sings again. And so must you. When you feel scattered, you don't spiral. You retune. When fear rises, you breathe deeper. When the world gets louder, you go quieter. Not to escape, but to return. Because your alignment is not fragile, it is practiced, it is remembered. And when you remember, you reconnect. So how do you stay in that state? How do you keep your channel clear in a world built to jam the signal? You choose it, moment by moment. You notice the slip and return. You witness the emotion and soften. You feel the chaos and don't identify with it. You don't fight the static, you rise above it. Because the truth is, you are not the noise. You are the note beneath it. You are not afraid. You are the one observing it. You are not the panic. You are the presence holding space for its release. And the more you practice that, the more unshakable your frequency becomes. You begin to hold your alignment like an inner flame, not swayed by every gust of wind. You become the eye in the storm. Not because you've eliminated the storm, but because you've trained your nervous system to stay open within it. That is spiritual maturity. That is energetic sovereignty. And that is the true power of prayer. Because real prayer isn't something you do once. It's a state you return to, over and over, until it becomes your new baseline. You begin to live your prayer, you become the frequency, and from there, your life begins to rearrange. Not because the world changed, but because your vibration no longer allows anything that doesn't match. You become untouchable by drama, invisible to low frequencies, magnetic to grace, not by pretending, not by faking, but by choosing, again and again, to return to your inner resonance, even when it's hard. Especially when it's hard, because that's when it matters most. Anyone can align in silence, anyone can pray on a retreat, but to hold your frequency in traffic, to stay coherent in an argument, to breathe like the divine is inside you while the world demands you collapse, that is prayer in its highest form. That is worship without words, devotion without ritual, truth without performance. That is when you become a channel, not just for your desires, but for divine order to pour through you. Because when you stay aligned despite the noise, you don't just receive answers, you become the answer. Your presence begins to speak louder than your words. Your energy begins to shift rooms. Your silence begins to vibrate as prayer. And then, you are no longer asking. You are living in the response. Every step becomes a declaration. Every breath becomes a hymn. Every moment becomes a temple. And heaven, that frequency you once thought was far, now walks with you, as you, through you. Because when your spirit stays in tune, you don't chase miracles, you are the frequency they're drawn to. But if you are now the channel for divine frequency, what is your life meant to transmit into the world? Chapter 7. You are the signal the world has been waiting for. You thought this journey was about getting something, receiving something, calling something in. But now you understand. You were never meant to be the beggar at heaven's gates. You were meant to be the gate itself. You were never meant to wait for blessings. You were meant to embody the frequency that becomes a blessing to others. Because prayer is not just alignment for your own sake. It's the signal you send into a world aching for remembrance, a world vibrating in fear, craving coherence, a world addicted to noise, hungry for a clear tone. And now that your tone is tuned, now that your being is open, softened, resonant, you become the vessel, you become the song. And what does that mean? It means that everything you are, not just what you say or do, transmits. Your energy walks into the room before you do. Your frequency touches others without a single word. Your presence either uplifts or adds to the static. So here is the question. What are you transmitting? Because every thought you repeat, every emotion you rehearse, every belief you embody, ripples outward endlessly. Not in theory, not metaphorically, literally. Science calls it your electromagnetic field. Mystics call it your aura. Healers call it your signature. But all are pointing to the same truth. You are broadcasting something right now, this second. You are a living radio tower, and your signal is shaping your world. And the more aligned you are, the more others begin to tune in. They won't even know why they feel safer around you. Why does their heart open in your presence? Why do they suddenly find clarity after talking with you? But it's not what you said. It's what you carried. This is a sacred responsibility. Not pressure, not ego, but stewardship. Because if you can hold alignment even when others forget, you become a bridge, and if you can stay in tune even when others tremble, you become a lighthouse. And when you speak, your words carry the weight of the frequency behind them. Now your prayer is no longer just for you. Now it's your field that heals. Your coherence calms. Your silence reminds others of who they really are. This is the new form of leadership. Not loud, not forceful, but resonant. Your frequency becomes your legacy. So do not diminish the power of your alignment. Do not think you need a platform to make an impact. Your frequency is the platform, and the moment you become clear, utterly, honestly, unmistakably aligned, you become magnetic. Not to attention, not to fame, but to the truth, to right people, right timing, right opportunities. Why? Because resonance pulls resonance, and the universe, the divine matrix, the unseen intelligence, is always listening, not to your words, but to your frequency. When you vibrate peace, chaos begins to dissolve around you. When you vibrate clarity, confusion can't hold its grip. When you vibrate love, true love, not performance, not platitudes, but the unshakable frequency of a heart wide open, life rearranges itself, because now you're not reacting to the world. You're rewriting it. You're not just aligning with God. You're expressing God in breath, in tone, in gesture, in presence. This is what it means to pray without ceasing. Not kneeling all day, not chanting in repetition, but walking is prayer, living as a hymn, breathing as a signal. This is where prayer ends and transmission begins. You don't need to ask anymore. You don't even need to speak. You've become so aligned, so present, so finely tuned, that heaven answers before you pray, because it now speaks through you. You've stopped begging. You've stopped doubting. You've stopped separating yourself from the source. You've remembered what religion forgot, that prayer was never meant to ask. It was always meant to align so fully that the boundary between your desire and God's will disappears. To align so deeply that the divine doesn't visit, it lives in you. Now you are no longer a seeker. You are a signal, and every breath you take, every thought you cultivate, Every moment you choose coherence over chaos, you are transmitting the sacred. You are proof that it is possible to live in resonance even in a dissonant world. You are in the field, and the frequency that heals it. You are the prayer, and the presence that answers it. You are no longer waiting, you are becoming. And so I ask you, as we prepare to close this transmission, what will your life sound like now that you remember you are the voice? Conclusion. Your life is the prayer. There is a moment in every soul's journey when the asking stops, when the whisper becomes a knowing, when the reaching outward ends and the turning inward begins, when the question, "Will I be heard?" fades, because you finally feel that you are, not because the universe changed, but because you remembered your place within it. You've spent a lifetime believing that you had to earn divinity, prove your devotion, beg for blessings. But now you see what was always true. You are not here to plead. You are here to resonate, to become so coherent, so clear, so aligned, that the divine meets you where you already are. Your thoughts are no longer wishful. They are intentional. Your breath is no longer just oxygen. It's the tuning of your field. Your emotions are no longer random. They are the sculptors of reality. And your life, this life you walk in now, is no longer a series of unanswered prayers. It is the unfolding of what you have finally become. So now, when you close your eyes to pray, you do not beg. You remember, you breathe, you align, you vibrate as if it's already done. And in doing so, you summon the response without needing the words, because the frequency is enough. It was always enough. You were never meant to say the perfect thing. You were meant to become the perfect tone. And now you are. So walk forward with silence in your bones and fire in your spirit. Live as a beacon, radiate as a temple, and when the world asks you, "What do you believe?" don't answer with words. Let your life be the prayer that tells the truth, because when your spirit resonates, heaven does not wait, it moves through you as you now.